It really started in 1988. I saw a small little blurb about a truck driver and a sexual assault that had happened in Texas. A mother and her daughter were broke down on the side of the road, and a truck driver pulled over and he raped them both, put them back in their car, and left them. They showed a sketch of the truck, and it was Blaine's truck. And all the bells went off for me. But I've just carried it with me for so long, and it just felt like it was time to talk to somebody about it. And so I am in no way trying to ever say that I can compare myself to Blaine's other victims. I can't imagine, like, what they go through on a daily basis. I just know what I go through on a daily basis from what he's done to me. I've always thought of Blaine as the boogeyman. I've tried to explain, like, horror movies and that kind of thing do not scare me because I know who the real boogeyman is. I know who the real monster is. And when there's no storyline and there's no Hollywood, no cameras and things like that, and you know someone like that is out there, I can't sleep. I just can't sleep. This was probably around the time that Blaine first came into our lives. I would be about 5 years old, and prior to this, it had just been the three of us, my mom and my sister and me. Blaine was a long-haul trucker that would sometimes be gone for days. But I remember him coming around was, like, it was exciting. It was awesome to have any male figure around. As a young boy, I didn't even realize that I was missing a father figure. I played, Little League baseball, so you see every other boy there with his dad. And dad shows up to watch him play. So the few times that Blaine made it to my games, it was big. So anytime that those holes were filled were important. He seemed like Superman. He had his foot on the pedal kind of personality about everything. When my mom first started dating Blaine, he was pretty decent, but that kind of changed after they got married. Sometimes you can see the monster that's in front of you and you can tell, you just know. But he flew under all those radars. He flew under every radar possible, and he had everybody fooled. We lived in an apartment complex with other families and young kids my age. One night, the kids that all lived in the apartment complex, we were all sleeping on the grass. Everybody just had blankets and pillows, but it was pretty late. And the silence was broke. You could hear like a quiet grumbling, and nobody really knew what it was. And it just kept getting louder. And from one direction, it was Blaine in the green machine. It was a 1977 Chevy, but it had a Corvette engine in it. And so it was unbelievably loud, it was unbelievably fast, and he came flying past all of us. By then, everybody's awake. Everybody knows it's him that went by, and the sound kept going until it was almost gone. By then, police cars, 2 of them, came past us. And they were pushing their cars to the limits too, but they didn't have a chance. And the sound kept going, and then it came back and got louder again. And Blaine came from the other direction, flew into the apartment complex. You could hear him slam on the brakes and screech the tires, parked the truck, and you could hear his cowboy boots, click, 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 and came running past all of us, put up his hand, said, "Hi, kids," and just went into the apartment and shut the door. They never found him. They never caught up to him. But it was something that I'll just never forget, like the sound of that engine and like seeing it go past. It's something that you only see in movies. It didn't seem like Blaine's running from the police. He must have done something super wrong. To all of us, it seemed great. It's only looking back now as an adult that I realized how dangerous and irresponsible all of that was. I don't think he cared about dangerous at all. Blaine liked toying with police. He liked toying with people in general. He would do things without thought of consequence. It was just another game. Yeah, this is a picture of me and my sister. During this time, like if I needed something, I'd go to my sister. If I had a problem, if I'd go to my sister, but it's hard that we don't have a relationship. Her and I have just, we've just never addressed the real reasons. I don't have anybody else. And that's something that we just had to deal with. Had to deal with a lot of years of silence. One morning, my sister and I were watching Saturday morning cartoons. I'm pretty sure we were fighting over the station. So he decided that our punishment for fighting over the TV would be to punch each other in the arms.
That's enough.
Basically, for my sister and I to punish each other. That way he didn't have to, but he would still get to watch. Like it made it like such a competition that you weren't really thinking about the consequences or if you were going to get hurt or if you're going to hurt somebody. It's not like I could just say, no, I don't want to do this. You know, that was it. That was what you were doing. The more we started punching each other, the more it kind of became personal for my sister and I. Like it wasn't about the TV anymore. As it would go on, I was really taking the worst of it. The more it started to hurt, the more I started to cry. And he kind of had rules for it. Whatever arm you punched with was the same one that you had to take the punch with. And as longer it went on, the more violent it became. There was a lot of happiness and pleasure in Blaine's face while we were doing it. A monster forces children to fight against each other. A maniac, a hunter, a predator, all of those things. And looking back on it, he was like that when he got there. You know, this wasn't something that came on gradually for him. All this, whether he knew it or not, all this stuff was already mowing around in his head. He just had to have an outlet, and the outlet was my sister and me. He was practicing to be a monster. This would be our race team. This is chariot racing. That would be Blaine in the chariot. And that would be me right in front of the chariot. You can barely see me. It was something that my grandfather started in our family. So every Saturday was race day. This is what country people do with their farm horses on Saturdays. It was fun. It was amazing. And nobody fights on that day. I wish every day was race day. When we would race our horses, Blaine had a helmet that he would wear in the chariot, and it was green, but we changed colors from green to yellow. So we bought 99-cent spray paint, spray painted the helmet, and it was in our back washroom drying. And I went back there to get something, but I had like bumped it. And it fell off, so I picked it up and set it right back on there. Later on, when Blaine and my mom got home, all I heard from the back room from him was like, "What happened to the helmet?" Always felt like I had to walk around eggshells around Blaine because it always changed. I never knew what I was going to be in trouble for. You just never knew what Blaine you were going to get, so you never knew what punishment you were going to get. I knew it was all downhill from there. They decided the punishment was going to be to get hit with this rubber cooking spoon that my mom used. And I still remember to this day, like, he called it taking the position. I'd have to like bend over and put my hands on my knees and get ready for the spoon. Blaine enjoyed every minute of it. The more he saw you struggle, or the more that he saw you in pain, the longer it took. It was the worst physical pain that I had felt up to that point in life. I can still hear the sound of it. I can hear it hit me. I can hear how the sound that it would make as it was coming to hit me. And he just kept hitting me. It was miserable. And just knowing that the next one's coming. And that no one's gonna stop him. And again, I'm sitting there in the middle of a punishment that I just don't understand. I don't get it. My mom was mad about it, but it wasn't, she wasn't mad because, like, did you see what you did to him? Or do you know how bad you hurt him? She was mad because she thought somebody was gonna see it. So after that, it didn't stop anything. It just made it so he had to be more creative and find ways to punish me without actually hitting me. As I got a little bit older, my mom and Blaine decided that I needed to do chores and started giving me a few responsibilities, which is fine. But one of my first responsibilities was to sweep out the garage. And I remember sweeping it, and I remember doing a pretty good job. And I didn't know it, but the whole time I was doing it, he was watching me. And I swept everything up except for the last little bit that's usually there that nobody can get with a broom and a dustpan by themselves. And I remember taking the broom and just kind of pushing it off to the side.
You all done? Just about.
So he asked me what I was doing. And he's like, "Did you sweep it all up and get it out?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yes, sir. Watching you.
And so because I had lied to him, or I didn't tell him the truth the way he wanted to hear it, I guess, he decided to punish me because of that.
Now come on!
So we had this like small crawl space under our house. It was like walking into a big like grave, like a big dirt grave. The air doesn't move in there. It just has dead spiders, dead mice. It just was a really desolate, horrible place. So that room, oh man. He didn't even go down in that room. Like nobody in the family would go down in there. I often didn't understand what it was I was being punished for, and I still didn't understand why. I didn't get it. Like, you just can't do that to somebody. I cannot go into crawl spaces to this day because I know I'm not there. I know I'm not in that room, but it stops me and it freezes me, and I feel trapped. When I was in that room, there was no escape. There wasn't like, oh, if I can wait till he walks away and I can sneak out and stuff like that. No, there was no doing that. But I wasn't even able to talk to my mom about the abuse, and I wasn't able to open up and say anything like, you know, that had been going on, that like, because she was there for the majority of it. So I don't really know that like there was anything to tell her. It just felt lonely because my mom was, she was like mute. Like the way she dealt with it was by being silent. I didn't feel safe anymore. I really didn't. I didn't feel safe. So this is a picture of me in the background, and right here in the bottom, this would be our bird. But I think this one slipped past my mom. I think if she would have known that this was Blaine's leg right here and that was any part of him, she just would have thrown it away. My mom destroyed anything with Blaine in it. And those would be his cowboy boots right there. Those are the boots. That's the boots that I would get kicked with 10, 12, 15 times a day. Because of my mom intervening over him hitting me with that spoon. He didn't like really spank me or physically like beat me for a while. But it was okay to kick me with the side of his boot. And if I flinched, he'd do it again. And if I tried to move, he would do it twice more. But it was humiliating to have to like stand there and wait to take it. Because it would happen in front of my mom or my sister, and so it was just humiliating in front of everybody. My real father had moved to California. So every summer, my sister and I would go and see him for the first couple months of the summer and then come back home, get ready for school. But there was one particular year I did not go. It had been like probably like a week and a half since my mom had talked to my sister. And so my mom tried to call my dad, and my dad was saying, well, she's going to live with me now. She doesn't want to talk to you. She doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. I'm going to fight for custody. She's going to live with me. And so my mom started freaking out and wanted to speak to my sister. He wasn't having it. My dad wasn't having it.
Put her on the phone.
So Blaine got on the phone, and Blaine told him that, like, you have about an hour to make plane reservations, or I'm going to be on your front doorstep in 12 hours, and you won't like it if I get there. The things I heard him say, it scared me because I knew that he was capable. It wasn't yelling over the phone. It was the most convincing, scary, soft tone, evil thing that you can imagine a person saying. But it was the calm and scariness of it that made it real. It was terrifying. And he hung up like my sister was home like 2 or 3 days later. It was like I guess it could be considered a family night. We were just sitting and watching TV. We were watching PBS during fundraising time. It kind of started off like we were joking about how nervous the girl looked, and how she kept fumbling over her lines, and like, oh my gosh, this is live TV.
She's terrible.
And so Blaine decided to make it more fun for him.
Call now. Call the number on your screen.
You'll see.
He said, you guys watch this. And he called the pledge number. And within a few minutes, he had convinced the people at PBS that he was going to donate a large amount of money and that he just wanted to thank the girl that was on TV.
Thank you so much.
And he went from thanking her to telling her that, like,
I'm gonna hunt you down and gut you like a fish.
I could see the fear on that lady's eyes on live television. I was more terrified when I heard him talking to that lady that way because it was just so attainable for Blaine. Like, it sounds real. But he scared this woman, and the absolute terror that was in her face was really funny for him. To make that switch and to flip over into, like, demon mode, I guess, it was very easy for him.
She's leaving.
I tried to like think of any of his like female victims. Like I just can't even imagine like the had to have been left in their existence from him just being in their world for a few minutes. And man, I feel so bad for everybody that he hurt. I can't apologize enough, but I know it doesn't really mean a whole lot. I'm not his advocate, not his lawyer. I don't know how it feels, but I've been hit by that train. As I got older, Blaine started taking me out on the road with him. Those times, Blaine was different. I didn't have to worry about getting kicked and to have to take the position or get hit, or, I didn't have to worry about him backhanding me or just anything when we were in the truck. For me, it was amazing. I was seeing the world from a semi-truck. I get to eat beef jerky and trash food for a couple days and soda, and he would treat me, we'd get along. He would treat me like more like a friend. He treated me like almost like an equal. So one night we had just gotten onto the freeway, and we were on the freeway for maybe 7 or 8 minutes. A highway patrolman started waving for us to pull over. So as we were getting pulled over, Blaine reached back into the camper part of the sleeper and he grabbed a handgun and put it underneath my seat and told me to sit on it and told me that unless the cops told me to get out of the truck, to stay where I was sitting. I don't know if he'd stolen the gun or committed a crime with it, but he definitely didn't want them to see it. You don't question it. You do what you're told. And so he got out and he talked to them for a few minutes. And then one of the police officers opened up the driver door and said, your dad's getting arrested and his boss is coming to pick up the truck and take you home. And so that was it. Like, Blaine was under arrest. Blaine's boss bailed him out immediately. We were back on the road as planned, and Blaine never even said another thing to me about it. I still don't know what they pulled us over for. He never told me. My mom never spoke of it. So it got swept under the rug as far as, like, it was none of my business, but they were looking for him. He would spend like extended times away from the truck. Like during the times when I was sleeping, I would kind of wake up and realize the truck wasn't moving, but it was running. But Blaine wouldn't be in the truck. And I knew better than to get out and go wandering around and looking for him. You know, we weren't just pulling over and taking a break. But in residential areas, we were kind of like pulled over and stopped for large, weird, just odd amounts of times. Like when we should be driving and going and getting another load and coming and dropping it off, we're like in a neighborhood for no reason. So it was like not just the amount of time, but like the odd times, like the witching hours, you know, that people are out doing bad stuff. Those were the times that he was saying that he was working. But there was gaps. My mom came and picked me up from school one day, which was very, very odd because I would walk every day. And when I got into the car, she was crying and like sobbing, kind of crying, and had been all day. Her eyes were puffy and stuff. I could tell she was a mess. And so she's like, I came and picked you up because I need to talk to you. And so she just like blurted it all out. She says, like, I'm just telling you that like Blaine's not coming home. And I probably was one of the first people that she was able to talk to about it. So she kind of just exploded and said that Blaine had cheated on her. I remember in my head thinking like, well, you know, what are we going to do now? And so my mom, you know, reassured me that that I'm here and it's just me, you, and your sister again. And it'd been a long time since I'd heard her say that. And so there we were, like we were at that. I didn't feel relief because like I said, over the few years leading up to that, I didn't feel 100% safe with my mom either. I didn't want him to come back, but it was my dad. So he was my father figure. That was what I was dealt with. It was different for my mom and for my sister. They experienced their own thing. You know, my mom lost her husband, and to my sister, she lost a stepdad. But I lost my father figure and my stepdad. So it was a punch. It was a big punch. I went through a really crazy stage over the immediate fallout from that. I had a small little cubby hole that was above my closet. I didn't feel safe. And so I would like hide up in there and I would sleep up in that cubby hole. So it was just easier to like hide. And all that time he punished me and would isolate me and make me be by myself. And in the end, that's the only place I got any peace. That's the only way I would feel okay. Is if I closed everybody off and closed everything out. I really believed that Blaine was gone for good. It had been about 2 years since he left, and one morning I woke up and surprise, he's back. He was there with his bathrobe on. He said, like, and this is something that I haven't told you, he never called me my name. A piece of never called me my name. He had a nickname for me, and I just don't want to say it. I don't want to repeat it. He said, "Hi, Ryan," but instead of Ryan, he called me that nickname that he always called me. So it was almost like going all the way back. There he was. It was like the gut punch, like a little bit of disgust, a little bit of like the bewilderment. Why are you here? Or my mom just told me Blaine hired a private investigator a long time ago, and he knew where we were at the whole time. He seemed like a kid with a big old lollipop in his hand. He was happy. You could tell that like he was back with my mom, like that little smirky smirk. He was there to stay. It didn't seem like he was leaving that day or anytime soon. I don't get scared when I watch horror movies because those people they're not as scary as like my stepdad was. When Blaine came back into our lives, I was a little bit leery of his intentions, but he was trying to just be a father and a husband. But I think that's what makes him the most dangerous, because he had all of the masks that were necessary to fool everybody. Blaine said that he was working 2 different part-time jobs, and so he would go away for long stretches of time. And then one morning, he left and he just didn't come back. A couple days went by, and then there was just a small clipping that my mom had cut out of the paper. And she's like, "Here, I need to show you this." And she just showed it to me. She didn't say a word. It just said, "Local man has been arrested for rape." When I read it, I was almost like, okay, like, that's horrible. Like, local man arrested for rape. I'm like, what does this mean? She's like, "It's Blaine." And it's like, I could feel like the color, like, leave my own face. The story was like, Mr. Nelson is accused of 17 rapes, but is admitting to over 100 nationwide. And you hear something like that, and you're like it just doesn't register. It doesn't register like, because I know what damage he did to our family. Now there's like 100 other families out there, 100 other women that have to try and explain that to their children or to their husbands, or, you know, if they don't have any of that, like, there are 100 other women out there that So I'm looking at a police report from Ogden Police. In 1983, he went into an apartment with the intention of stealing money or purses. A girl was asleep with no clothes on. He took advantage of her in the moment and raped her. And that is what started him. Number 2 was the Apple Grove Apartments. He said the girl had 2 children and believed this rape occurred in 1984. One of the worst things that's on here is that the dollar amounts are there from the women that he stole. When he got into a purse and stole $2. He got into a purse and stole $17. Number 6, Nelson explained how he entered the house and had intercourse with the victim. Number 7, Nelson said that the keys were left in the door and had intercourse with the victim. Looks like there's at least 25 in this report. That's all the ones that I see in this report. Nelson explained that there were more, but at this time he doesn't remember where they are. Nelson said that he would pick the houses by the looks of their yards, the cars around it, and he would simply go from house to house and checking doors. He said that you would be surprised the amount of doors that people would leave open. It also became a game to see if the police could catch him.
Why did you laugh there?
Because I was a witness to Blaine playing games with the cops by driving 100 miles an hour past me and running from the cops. And you can see no matter what it was, whether he's out like playing a board game or whether he's like violating a woman's life, it's still a game. It was still a game to him. And that's just not fair to any of these women. Like, I hate seeing it like this, because you know that behind every one of these black marks is somebody's name. It's another gut punch, and I feel horrible. I can't even put into words how I feel. I don't know. It's been a minute since I even talked to my mom, my sister. Like, we don't have a relationship at all. I just don't want to face it or talk about it. I wish my mom would have said anything. That's something that came from in here that wasn't something that she felt like she had to say, because that's what parents say. Like, I'm sorry you're messed up in this. I'm sorry that this is your life now, but we're going to get through it, kind of thing. It didn't happen. I just want to say to my mom and my sister that if they do end up seeing this, that I know you both have a story too. And I would like to hear it before it's too late. After Blaine left, it took a while, but I started to find a little bit of relief. The monster was gone. I don't know if it's going to do any good to tell my story after so long, but there's a lot of people out there that probably never caught their boogeyman. And so, I don't know, it may do nothing to come and talk to you guys in the end, but hopefully it will. For some of his, I don't know, for me, for some of his other victims, for my mom and for my sister that still don't want to acknowledge any of this. It's like still walking on thin ice. There's spots and there's times sometimes if you stop, you might hear a couple cracks underneath you, but you got to keep moving or you're going to fall. And there are some days where it swallows me whole. But those are the days that I will try to find some solace with my children or with my grandbaby. I have such a beautiful wife and family that they don't deserve for me to wallow in it. They deserve for me to be present. You know, maybe there's Maybe there's a kid out there that's locked in a crawl space or something that the next time they get out, they'll call somebody or they'll say something and it won't happen anymore.
That you already committed a violent act?
Yes. But my wife, I cut her with a butcher knife.
I just felt helpless again. Like, I just wanted to get to her.
He grabbed a hold of me and threw me down on the bed and was choking me. I'm thinking to myself, I'm pregnant and he's trying to kill me.
I've seen this look right before he explodes. People call him a monster and keep calling him evil. It's probably because it's true.
My mother was strangled so severely her larynx was snapped in half. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have a brother. I hope God does not have mercy on his soul.
He got that gun and he started beating me with it. He was like a monster when they just hatch.
The one thing that I was afraid of for those 5.5 years became my reality that day. And I think that's also just still hard to grasp. He had reached his limit of ways he could hurt me. And I think he was desperate and didn't know what else to do. And I think he did that because he knew that that was my worst nightmare. I don't know, I just... Sorry. It does make me feel guilty just because it's just really just the simple fact, I think, what if I just never took him seriously? So I hold a lot of that guilt on myself, and it's been... Sorry. This is me and Teddy. And that was my real first relationship, first person that I fell in love with. But this is not a happy memory. I actually remember this day, and I was kind of leaning away from him because this was not too long after one of the times that he actually put his hands on me. So I just look so uncomfortable. I'm just not happy at all. And he was trying to overcompensate for that by being more affectionate. And I think I just was so naive at that point in life that I just kind of took it to the extreme, and I didn't realize how broken he was. And the fact that a 17, 18-year-old girl at that point could not fix that. If I could change bringing Teddy into my life, I would do anything to change that. And now that I realize that, it's like, damn, like, sorry. Oh, this is my high school graduation photo. My grandma, she came from DC, so my dad was really happy. My sisters came, my mom. This is probably one of his proudest days. I can kind of even see it just on his face. I did graduate with honors. I had a 3.9. So I got like a special cord for my ROTC achievements also. And then I was part of one of our like school clubs for our academics. So I also got a cord for that one. So they were really, really proud this day. I'm like, wow, this is great. I'm finally like, I made it. I love my dad so much. He was just like the rock of our family. He would randomly throughout the week, we would go play basketball. But after a while, I started to get better. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna take you and we're gonna play, but I'm gonna like watch from over here. And he would just show me little things. Like he showed me how to change an oil filter, how to change my own oil, how to change a tire. He would always tell us like, if I'm ever not here, you know, I wanna make sure that you'll be able to take care of yourself and do these things. He always sacrificed for us. For me, my mom, my sisters, our whole family, really anybody he cared about, he sacrificed so much. It was very disappointing for me to have to leave the Air Force Academy. I was very hurt. Like, I was like heartbroken. I called my parents from Colorado crying. They gave me the opportunity to leave, go home, and come back and, you know, just restart next year with the next class. But then that summer is when me and Teddy started dating. When I first realized my feelings towards Teddy, there were definitely the butterflies and just little things that, you know, anything new that he might say or do would, you know, just make me feel, I don't know, like just butterflies, I guess. So it was good at first. It's almost like Teddy was like an outcast in his family. They just didn't treat him like my family treats each other. It made me feel bad. It made me feel like, you know, anytime someone needs help, I just want to help. So when I saw him, you know, having these family issues, I'm like, okay, maybe I can help. Something that I thought would be a good thing backfired. I think it makes me so emotional because I just wish I could go back to that time. That was like such a pivotal point. I feel like if I would have just made one different decision, that maybe everything that happened with Teddy wouldn't have happened. One day I remember my dad had told me that he saw Teddy at a fast food restaurant. He walked into the restaurant, he saw Teddy, he was there with another female, they were holding hands. This was maybe about 6 months or so after I had told my parents that me and Teddy were dating. So I did ask Teddy about the whole girl at the fast food restaurant. And of course, he claimed that it was just his friend. He gave me this whole speech and, you know, you're the only person I want to be with. It was kind of like a love bombing of words. I covered for Teddy so many times, especially, you know, I try to do everything I could to make him not look like the type of person that he was clearly showing everyone he was. I didn't want to accept the fact that the person that I thought I was in love with at the time was possibly doing something wrong. Teddy had gotten in a few fights before we met, so I just heard, you know, about how he could be a little confrontational. And I think I definitely should have paid that more attention, but I didn't see it as necessarily a red flag at that time. So I remember this night, me and Teddy, we were with a bunch of friends, and there was this guy just being overly pushy.
Yo, what's up?
He was just like, what's your number? What's your name? And just not letting it go when we ignored him.
I just want to know your name.
Teddy zooms over and he's like, what's up? Like, you messing with my girlfriend, da-da-da. So they get into it. Teddy just hit him one time and knocked him out. Everybody was just like this whole big thing. Everybody's like, oh my gosh. That was the first time I saw him hurt somebody. And I feel like at that moment in time, I'm like, okay, maybe your bad reputation could, protect me somehow. Like, he's a protector kind of person. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe this is like my dad. I thought, okay, maybe I can help him change. I see these bad things, but that doesn't mean you have to be a bad person forever. Because now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, you could have de-escalated that situation differently. I definitely should have taken that as a red flag. I think back then I thought of it as, this like grand thing that you've done for me. Like, oh, you protected me. Like, oh, wow, like how, but now it was kind of almost a form of control, I feel like. Kind of using that situation to make me feel safe, even though I wasn't really safe with him. When we first started dating, Teddy had got in a few fights, just some negative situations back then. At that point, his temper, nothing had got better. We were starting to argue here and there. And yeah, my parents found out a couple times about the altercations I got in because of Teddy, and, they were upset, and I was disappointed in myself. That's when it just really started to be like, okay, this isn't what I thought it was gonna be. I broke up with him and I started dating someone else. I went to a party one night with the guy that I started, recently talking to after I cut Teddy off. The next thing I hear, someone's like, oh, Teddy's outside. In my mind, I'm like, maybe it's a coincidence. But then they're like, he's not just like outside chilling, like he's outside with a bat. Me and a couple of my homegirls, walked over to Teddy and were like, what are you doing? Like, what's all this about?
What are you doing here?
I came here to get you. We're leaving.
Teddy basically told me I'm leaving with him. He was coming there to show either me or the new guy I was trying to talk to that, like, oh, you can't have her type of thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's coming here and he's gonna beat up the guy that I just started talking to for no reason.
Crack his skull wide open. He's a dead man.
Either I get in the car or it's gonna be some sort of altercation. This is what's gonna satisfy him. Let me just do it.
Okay. Come on.
It was scary at the time. He begged and pleaded, please talk to me, we can make it work. It was almost like an apology, but almost like you have no choice but to forgive me and take me back. I ended up leaving with him that night. We talked and I decided to take him back. I believed the things he told me about how he would change and what he would change. I saw the things that were wrong, but I didn't think that it would become an aggression towards me. He was so, already into controlling me that there was nothing else I could do to leave him alone. That probably wouldn't have resulted in something bad happening. So yeah, it's a lot of weight to carry and I need to release it somehow, but it's easier said than done. The whole reasoning behind moving to Greenville with Teddy was to try to get him away from all of the bad things that he was doing. I just felt like he had so much more potential. When we first moved in together, it was good, but then things changed after that. One day, we were kind of in the common area of the house and just going back and forth, arguing.
No! You need to start contributing.
It was kind of just a regular argument, but I said something and he just kind of came rushing at me. That's at that point when he pushed me down and started choking me on the floor. I'm like, what's going on? I couldn't really fight back. It just happened so fast. And I, look at him in his face. It's anger. It doesn't look like he's in control. He would call me a bitch or, you or just anything that he could to degrade me as much as possible in that moment. And then I also thought, if you try to fight back, he might hurt you even worse. So I just kind of let it happen and just waited for it to be over. Probably held me down for at least 15 seconds, long enough to where I literally had no air left in my lungs. I thought, okay, I'm about to pass out. And that's when he released me and I sat there for a while. I didn't move. I just never experienced so much hate from someone before. Just the feeling that I felt in that moment when it was actually happening. Like I could feel like hatred. I'm like, in my mind, I could have just died. By the time he did come back, he helped me get up and brought me some water, and he was very apologetic. He was crying. So I think it was just him trying to persuade me that he was so sorry that it wouldn't happen again. He knew I had a good heart, and he used that to his advantage. And I didn't want to call and tell my parents because I thought, oh, this was only one time. And if I call the police on him, we'll never be together again. I just tried to keep it between us and protect him yet again. I thought, okay, this was just a mistake. I didn't die. It's okay. It'll be okay. It's kind of what I told myself, and not knowing that this was going to become a whole thing at that point. They told us that they would be searching the house. At that time, Teddy was dealing with different things with people's bank accounts, and he had the credit cards that weren't in his name. They ended up first arresting Teddy. I was arrested for possession of stolen goods since the credit cards that Teddy had were actually in my room. At that moment, that's when it kind of really hit me what is going on? I'm like, this is not how my life was supposed to turn out. I'm like, I did everything, growing up just to make sure that this moment didn't happen. It kind of was like a reality check. And it made me really look at Teddy okay, is it you? Are you the reason why these bad things are happening to me? I've never had this happen before. The only thing I was worried about was how disappointed my parents were going to be. That next day, my parents were supposed to be driving to come to this really big honors award ceremony at ECU. You guys are supposed to be picking me up to go to this ceremony, and instead, you're picking me up from the county jail. It really put things, I think, into perspective for me at that point. I was definitely ashamed. I was embarrassed. My dad blamed Teddy for the arrest because I never had a history of getting into trouble or really just doing anything wrong. He felt like had I not been with Teddy, my life would have been taking a different turn at that point. I saw something in him that I wanted him to see in himself. And instead of me changing him into that person that I thought he could become, it's he slowly started changing me into the person that he wanted me to be and the person really that he was. Teddy ended up getting 6 months that he had to serve in jail, and I got about 18 months of probation. Honestly, once he went to jail, I moved back with my parents. So my dad, he definitely was just supportive, no matter what. At the same time that he's like, consoling me, like giving me a hug, like, oh, it's okay. He's also telling me like, okay, it's okay, but you need to figure out what you're gonna do. So it was like, I'm like, okay, now I need to figure out the next step. Kind of saw how life could be without Teddy, and it was actually a lot better. So I just saw a lot of positive changes, and as soon as he got back out, everything just went back downhill again. So this is when we went out one of those times to the country. I didn't really think anything of it at that time. But after putting it into perspective, it's like, what were you practicing for? He always made sure he had a gun from the time that we first started dating. He was actually very insecure. Probably the most insecure person I ever met. He did like to come off as like the tough guy. I think that he thought that that made him look like a macho man or like the cool dude. And the guns didn't make me nervous until close to the end. Right after that time, after Teddy got out of jail, we were starting to argue here and there. All the negative things were really starting to kind of show themselves more. We got into an argument, probably, again, something minor. He tried to push my head into the trash can. It was just bleeding as soon as he did it. And instead of him, are you okay? Or give me a towel or anything, he went to the room and started packing his stuff and panicking. And meanwhile, I'm just, sitting on the floor bleeding. He was more concerned with himself getting in trouble than the fact that he just gashed my head open. This photo is probably a day or two after the day that Teddy bashed my head into the kitchen counter. So that's the scar, and I had to get 5 stitches. It wasn't a direct, don't tell anybody. It was more so him putting it into the scenario of, well, if you tell somebody, I'm gonna go to jail, I'm gonna get in trouble. He knows how much I care, so instead of him saying, oh, don't tell on me because this or that, he's making me feel like I would be the one holding him back if I told on him. It's like he was playing this mind game because he knew I wanted the best for him. He was a master manipulator. So when my mom asked what happened to my forehead, I actually told her that I slipped on a rug in the kitchen and I fell and I hit my head. And that was kind of the story. She didn't believe it because she knows that I was an athlete my whole life and I never really had clumsy spells where I just tripped or fell. It just solidified exactly what I already said in my head, that this will never work. I have to find a way out. The main kind of argument when it's a domestic violence relationship is, oh, why didn't you just leave? And it's really not that easy. You can literally just take your feet and walk away. But who's to say that once you do that, that person's actually going to leave you alone? but you never know what might be around that corner. I had this gut feeling that the day you try to leave him, he's gonna find a way to hurt you even worse. And he's gonna knock on my mom's door, and then he's gonna shoot my mom, and then he's gonna knock on my sister's door and shoot her and all my nieces and nephews and my other sister. That was literally what played out in my head of what would happen if I left him. So I'm just like, to avoid all that, I'll just stay and deal with whatever it is that he may do, because that's better than what I, in my gut, feel like is the outcome is gonna be. After that incident, my parents really noticed what all had been going on. So at that point, that's when, my dad was like, no, he can't do this. And I want to, go forward with pressing charges. But I didn't want to leave him. But there was nothing that my dad could actually do. So he did try, but me being of age, you can't really, call for somebody else. So it was just kind of like he felt helpless. So one day we were at the townhouse. Somebody knocked on our door. The police officer came to me and Teddy's townhouse. Teddy was like, why is the police here? He was very paranoid, and I kind of went into like a panic because Teddy, mind you, is right there with both of his guns. Like he always does when he doesn't know who somebody is that comes to the house. He has both of his guns in his hand. And I walked out the door, and the cop, he has no idea.
Hi, ma'am.
And I'm just panicking, kind of trying to figure out how to get rid of the cop without telling him that Teddy is standing behind the door with a gun. Well, your dad wanted me to come and check on you. So I was like, I'm like, yes, I'm fine, everything's fine. And then I think he could kind of feel that I was trying to be short and rush the conversation. In that moment, when I was talking to the cop, I was convinced that Teddy would shoot him right then and there and not care at all, just to save himself. I just kept assuring him everything's okay.
Okay.
Eventually he ended up leaving. I just knew it couldn't last but so much longer. After 5 years of lying to people about what you've been doing and all these things, and it seems like everything is trying to come to light, I felt like, I'm like, okay, my parents know. I'm like, okay, the police came by. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is the time where I need to finally figure out how to leave him alone. But it was just no more rope left at that point. Oh, this is Fat Boy. This is our puppy that we got. And yeah, I love Fat Boy. He was cool. He was a really good dog. He didn't really do much. But I was like, okay, that's just you. I'm like, that's your personality. I'm like, you like it? I love it. When we went and got the dog, it was Teddy's idea. He was in love, I was in love. But as time faded, a couple months went by, and he just started to treat Fat Boy different. He wouldn't feed him. He would actually beat the dog. He, eventually ended up killing him. After probably 30 minutes or so after I saw Fat Boy, I cried. I went upstairs and cried first. I didn't want to watch him bury Fat Boy, so I ended up just leaving the house for the day so I didn't have to watch that. And when I got back, he just acted like nothing happened, like everything was normal and just go on about life, so. He saw that I had something else that I cared about and it wasn't him, and he got jealous, you know, even though it's a dog. He got jealous of the dog, and it made me a lot more fearful of him and the things that he would be capable of. I used to watch a lot of crime stuff, and they always said that, you know, people that have these real issues, they start off with animals. That stuck in my head, that he was kind of on a pathway to more than an animal. And it did scare me. I looked at him completely different. I think that the thing that I asked for the most was to just be able to safely get away from him, and my family also. And I could never see a way, no matter how many different scenarios I would put together in my head, no matter how many different ways I would think of how to possibly leave him, it always ended with him hurting somebody that I cared about. I was more okay with something happening to me than something happening to my family. I didn't want the person that I brought into their life to hurt them. So right around the beginning of 2020, after everything happened with Fat Boy, me and Teddy broke up. So there was one time me and Teddy were actually arguing, and he again choked me to the point where I had, you know, bruises around my neck from his hands, and then my face was purple and blue, blotchy. And then he takes the broomstick and starts beating me with the broom. After that, I got up and I started packing my stuff.
You get your ass up here!
And he screamed at me to come upstairs. And something just went off in my head, like, don't go upstairs. I don't know why, I'm just like, no. I'm like, I'm not coming upstairs.
Dreamer!
I'm like, okay, yeah, he's about to get his gun and he's about to come down here and kill me. Is what I was thinking, and the only way I thought I was gonna make it out of the house is just by turning around, going out the front door and making a run for it.
Where are you?
It was just this overwhelming feeling. Just don't talk to him, don't say anything, just run. And that's what I did.
Dreamer!
When I finally make it out of the house, I've made it far enough out of his eyesight to where I can now call somebody to come and pick me up, and I can get away from him.
Dreamer! Dream!
A little bit of time goes by, I call my dad. I tell him, you know, what happened. And he said immediately, he's like, I'm on the way, where are you at? I started to hear Teddy's car. I would just kind of try to duck or move to the side or see if I could see him and position myself to where he can't see me. So I did hide all the way until, you know, my dad made it to me. I get in the car, we pull off.
He was just here. We gotta go.
We probably didn't make it like 500 feet. We make a right, and Teddy is coming.
That's him!
Teddy literally swerves into our lane head on. So we hit each other head on. And I'm looking at him in this moment when our cars are just literally touching like this. And I look at him and I say, what the are you doing? Stop. He didn't stop. And in that moment, I saw him pop his trunk, and I told my dad he has a gun. Teddy had already got out of his car with his rifle, knowing what he was about to do. I did get out of the car to try to run and stop him, but I couldn't make it to him fast enough. And he shot my dad. And at that point, when I did run around the car towards Teddy, he actually stopped shooting at my dad for a second and pointed at me. And I looked at him and he didn't shoot me. He just went back to shooting at my dad. By the time I got to him, I grabbed it, and it's like he just kind of snapped out of it. I didn't really think about it. You know, my first instinct was just save my dad.
Dad, come on, stay with me.
At that point, I'm thinking that, you know, there's still some chance that he would be alive.
I love you.
I did actually hear my dad take his last breath. I told him I loved him, and that's when I heard, like, the last sound, like he was trying to say it back, but he couldn't. And that was it. I was just screaming at the top of my lungs. I was just in shock. I didn't really understand what had just happened. And Teddy, he asked me if I would take $100,000 to tell the police that he was protecting himself against my dad. The audacity you must have to say something like that to somebody after what you just did leads me to believe even more just how evil he is, because how could you do that to somebody and then turn around and make it seem like money could fix that? I could only think about one thing at that point, and that was the fact that my dad was sitting there lifeless because of him. I've been trying to make it make sense, and no matter what I come up with for why he did it, it doesn't make sense. And if you wanted to hurt me, why didn't you shoot me too? So this is Teddy 4 years after being arrested. The nothingness, the soullessness is still there. I know for a fact he's not coping well in prison. I've actually spoken to people that have seen him in prison, and he's not doing good. I'm not afraid of what's gonna happen when he gets out of prison in 35 years, but he should be afraid of what's gonna happen when he gets out of prison. This is me and my dad when I was probably in like 5th grade. We went out to DC. We would just go random places sometimes, like without really anything to do or any plan. Yeah, he was a very caring person, just in general. And I guess maybe that's where I get it from. My dad did everything he could to protect me, my sisters, my mom. If he was given the opportunity to know what the outcome would be, he would do it again. You know, he was fearless. So this is my dad. we got him cremated. This was his wishes. You know, he always said that he didn't want to be buried in the ground. So, sorry. He always said he didn't want to be in the ground, and he was always that person that liked to be different places and, you know, moving around and stuff. So we promised him that one day we would get his ashes spread all over the world, and we, you know, piece by piece, we've been doing that. So that's what we did. And just like with our necklaces, like right now he's in Texas, he's in Georgia, he's in North Carolina, he's everywhere right now. So I think he's somewhere sitting watching me right now. So so this is another little urn. So we put some of his ashes in here. So if we just want to, you know, take him with us, if we go somewhere that can't take, you know, all of him, we can always take our little urn. So we always have him with us. Yeah, definitely my guardian angel now. I just feel that he's always with me. Like, it just gives me motivation to do things I probably wouldn't have done, and I know that that's him. I do still talk to my dad all the time. Whenever I have like a good accomplishment, I'll like, Dad, guess what? Like, this just happened. Or if I'm really, probably especially when I'm sad, you know, I'll definitely always just make sure I say something to him. Even when I'm just feeling okay, I'll just sometimes just talk to him. I know he's listening.
This is Teresa. She looks scary. This woman had no emotion for me, her child. She was ripping my innocence away from me and using it against me. If my own mother couldn't love me, then who could?